Hi, everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Backcast, where I'm Upper talk with Braden and Kenny about Batman, the animated series. And this week's episode is a good one because it's doing Mask of the Phantasm, and we have a host of good, not good from the woods, host of Off My Shelf, Tracey James. How you doing today, Tracy?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So I figured as we're doing one of the two Batman animated series movies, we should have like the one who does movies on, because I know you like that, as we discussed before on your podcast and ours, that you're a big Batman fan.
I am, yeah. And thanks for thinking about me for this. But one thing you might be surprised of, I have never seen either of the Batman the Animated Series movies before.
Oh,
Really?
really?
Yes. It is a mark of shame on my record, but apparently that's going to be corrected now because I did finally watch Mask of the Phantasm. So here we go. Yeah.
Yeah, and I will admit I didn't know about Mr. Freeze on Sub-Zero until like when I moved to Newmarket, because where I was living with one, like there was like a giant tiger close by, so I was buying movies because for a bit when I first moved there, and like one of them was like in the cheap end was that one. And I was like, I have not heard of this before. I grabbed it, and I was like, I was really surprised that I had no memory of like at least knowing that this came out or anything too. So
hmm
don't feel too bad for not if I don't feel too bad for seeing that and not having not seen that one, because I didn't know it existed until about like 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Like
Well, it's
well after it
not.
came out.
Yeah, because it's not that I haven't seen any Batman, like animated Batman movies. So,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I've seen, Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and stuff. Sure, of course I have.
I
But,
actually I have not seen that one yet. It's on my
okay.
list, but I haven't seen it yet. But I hear it's pretty good.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna let you keep
Or
believing that. That's fine. Cool.
Tracy, how could you?
I know. I'm a horrible. I'm a
It's
horrible
Batman
person.
no,
versus Shredder.
uh, well, we know. Yeah, we all know that my affinity for like bad movies, so like I might actually like it. So
Yeah, then it's definitely up your alley because you're gonna be like, this is nonsense, but I love it. That's what's gonna
Oh,
happen.
okay, so I probably will probably be on my yeah, I like this movie. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't actually have an excuse why I haven't seen Mask of the Phantasm. It came out around the time I would definitely have been going to the movies very regularly. I would have, of course, been watching Batman the Animated Series. And it's one of those things that I didn't see in the theater. It just passed. I find it didn't show on TV very often, so I didn't really have
yeah,
a
I don't
chance
think
to
it
watch it. And then I never hunted it down.
That's a
So,
good point.
ever
yeah.
did it. Yeah. So yeah,
Cool.
so this movie came out in between seasons one and two, and it came out in the theaters December 25th, 1993.
Oh, it was a
Do you
Christmas
guys remember
movie.
what? Yeah, do you guys remember what you do in December 25th, 1993? This
I'm
Uh,
going to say something Christmas related.
yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say this probably might be like one of the few days like somebody will have like a general idea at least of what
Mhm.
they were doing that day. Because every
Yeah,
other day we're like, I have no idea. Like November 27th, 1992, I have fucking no idea.
exactly. Yeah. You're like,
December 16th, 1991.
it was a drizzly Tuesday. I cried in the rain and covered my tears. I don't know why I went so dark with it. I apologize. I don't
Well,
know.
it's Batman, so yeah, so it's on track really, I think so.
That's still not as dark as the implication I just laid down.
Yeah.
So yeah, so this movie was written by Alan Burnett, Paul Dini, Martin Pascoe, and Michael Reeves. Directed by Eric Radomski and Bruce Timm. So if you guys like this movie, yeah, like Bruce Timm and Paul Dini had a good hand in it. So
Hold on. Sorry.
what's that?
So I looked up the movie Mask of the
Yeah,
Phantasm on
Mhm.
yeah,
IMDb because I
yeah.
like to know who directed, who starred, and all that kind of stuff. But for some reason, it says the directors of this movie. Because I was looking at it, I was like, I don't think that's what it said when I watched the movie last night.
Oh, do
But
tell.
but the directors on IMDb is listed as Kevin Altieri, Boyd Kirkland, and Frank Parr,
Oh,
Paur.
oh, weird.
I
Yeah, because
don't
it. Yeah, yeah,
understand
because
why.
oh yeah, both things where look this up. Yeah, both I see that, but I didn't. I
I'm
didn't
checking
look at
Wikipedia.
IMDb. So.
Wikipedia is never wrong.
What the internet was wrong? Like, how dare it?
Yeah. Because I remember watching the movie last night and I saw it was two directors. And I was like, oh, I should make note of that. And then I was like, I'll just watch the movie and I'll look it up later. That's what I did. And then I saw this and I was like, I don't know if that's right. And now that you're saying it out loud, I'm like, no, that seems wrong. This seems wrong now.
IMDb says the Kevin Altieri, Boyd Kirkland, and Frank Power. So,
Hmm.
That's weird.
so it's so weird. Batman stuff, fandom stuff. How dare you be wrong and make me look a fool on my own podcast? I should. So yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, so yeah, it seems you're right, Tracy, and I
No,
was
no, I
given
did. No, I
false
think you were
information.
given the right information
Oh,
because I think what you read was
oh,
what's on screen when you watched the
oh,
movie.
oh, really?
That
Oh,
does
okay.
Yeah.
sound right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So IMDb is wrong. Haha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
I thought I was
so
wrong.
sorry,
Okay. So,
looking further into it, it says those people are sequence directors.
uh,
And there's also a guy named Dan Reba is a sequence director. And then it says directed by Eric Radomski and
uh,
Bruce Timm. But like why wouldn't you put those two people first because they're the official directors?
And what is a sequence director? I've never heard of that term before.
Me
I
neither.
like I imagine it's probably like one of the action scenes that probably took a lot of like heavy focus animations and stuff. So they probably
Okay.
have somebody that doing that sort of thing. I would imagine kind of like a second and third AD directors on movies will kind of handle like the action scenes and all that shit. So I imagine it's probably a similar thing. I would imagine
Okay.
if I were to take a guess.
So just a couple production notes because I guarantee you this is probably going to be our longest episode to date. Because it's obviously like one of the longest Batman animated stories that we've done. I'm going to get through this real quick. One, Adam and I watched this at Batman Day at the famous Imagine Cinemas that he keeps on referring to on a lot of our episodes. He managed
Yeah,
to
yeah,
get me there.
it was August 21st last year. Yeah, I think I might have messaged Tracy or like on the social medias to say that was there because they're showing like among other movies they're showing Batman Returns and I think
Mhm.
Batman I don't know actually Batman Forever and Batman and Robin after I stayed for Batman Returns or Batman Forever. Sorry, I keep on
That
mixing
was
up
right. Yeah.
because I hadn't seen that one because I hadn't seen that one in the theater before, but but and unfortunately my first Batman movie in the theater was Batman and Robin when it came
Oh
out
no.
initially. So I didn't stay for that one, so I didn't want to put myself through that one again.
Yeah. You chose correctly. Yes.
Yeah.
And
But
yeah, like so,
speaking of those movies, actually, that this movie when it was like released in theaters, it was actually released between I should say, Batman Returns and Batman Forever. So
Oh.
they're kind of striking while the iron was hot for a lot of the Batman fans. And Warner Brothers originally was going to have this be direct to DVD or sorry, direct to home release because DVDs didn't exist at the time. And then they decided halfway through, like, what if we just release this on the theater? And it tremendously did like a really good run. And it actually got nominated for a Best Animated Feature. Uh, oh, sorry, I thought it was Academy Award, but that's Annie. What is an Annie Award? I don't know. But lost to The Lion King. And yeah, the music, because when this movie opens up, it's to a tremendous score
It
is
is.
by Shirley Walker. She cites this as one of her favorite compositions. Like this music slays.
It does. It does. And I was shocked. Like I actually when it started, I was expecting the classic animated series like sound. And but when the music started, I was like, what is this? Oh, this is amazing. I love it. Um
because
yeah.
this movie definitely had like the extended extended opening with the credits and stuff. Yeah, so it had that nice opening and stuff, and definitely wasn't the original the theme or whatever on it. So I definitely like that. Yeah.
And when we
Mhm.
watch this on the big screen, like I cannot undersell this. If you guys get the chance to watch this on the big screen, do not hesitate. Because I've seen this movie on my home screen on TV. And when I saw it with Adam, I'm like, okay, this is incredible. This is a spectacular presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I had personally like I hadn't seen this movie in a long time too. So like when I saw that was playing, I think that was the movie I got excited for the most. And as soon as I saw it as in the theater, I think I messaged you, Braden, and it was like, oh fuck, I'm going. So if you can come and then message my schedule at work because I was still part time then. I was like, yeah, I can't come in this day, so I'll help. I'm busy this day.
Yeah.
Then later on saw that Batman Forever was there too, so I was like, I'll definitely go see this too. Been waiting to because yeah, because I think it was earlier last year. The review was showed Batman '89 on a 35 millimeter print, so I'd seen that like a couple months before. So I'd seen all the so I definitely had seen all the that was just cut off all the Batman movies I hadn't seen in the theater before.
I will say, watching it, like I watch it on my television, and I don't have
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
giant 75-inch TV or anything. It's not nothing spectacular. Um, but even watching it just on my regular TV, like you can see, like I was looking at it, and at first I was like, the animation is different, but the same somehow, but also just looked grander in a
Hmm.
way. And I'm not talking about the opening sequence, which is clearly like some computer generated, you know, movement through Gotham City. And then they switch to like what looks to me like classic animation. But even just watching it on TV, it still looks really, really spectacular. So don't let that deter you from watching it on TV. It's not being ruined. It's just I think if you see it on a big screen afterwards, which next time I will, it would be just it'd blow me away. I'd be like, "What? This is amazing." Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine the review or I imagine we'll probably end up showing it again at some point. So if I end up seeing that, because I keep an eye on the those two theaters a lot, so I'll message you online if it happens to pop up again.
I'm down for
Because
it.
it's
Yes.
definitely yeah, it's definitely worth going. And if it's at Imagine, it only costs you $5 because yeah, I freaking love that theater. It's just off of Young and Carlton there, like downtown Toronto. So if you're ever downtown Toronto, freaking check out that theater. It's freaking awesome. It's like nice, like old. It's like the old school theater. It's not the one that has like the stadium seating. It's kind of like like the floors on like a slope. I guess it was like it reminds me of the old Lansdowne cinema in Peterborough,
Yeah.
which I think I mentioned to you before, where I saw Dude, Where's My Car for like the $2. I think it was like that, like the last movie I saw there before it closed down, and it was I moved to like the Galaxy Cinemas that's there now.
Two
So I
dollars,
was
you
like just
overpaid.
randomly walking through that mall, and it was like, yeah, yeah. Hey, as I said, I'm pretty for bad movies. I do like that movie, and we did talk. I did. That's why I was on that episode with Tracy to talk
Yes.
about Dude, Where's My
I will
Car and
admit,
say like, yeah, I saw the movie for $2.
yeah, I own that movie, so you know. I also think I paid more than $2 for said DVD. So I don't know what that says about me, but you could listen to the episode and find out.
It definitely satiates the has like the Star Trek reference like right in the movie too. So and it took me a couple years to find out to make sure to make sure I was actually right because that in like was it 2002 2001 when that movie came out, IMDb wasn't a thing on the internet yet because that was like really early internet time.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it was like years later. I freaking checked, I looked online, and I was like, ah, I was right.
There you go. So this movie opens up, as Tracy mentioned, with kind of this like CGI kind of like aerial view of Gotham City. So already we're like, starting it off well, and with like this operatic, like kind of Latin choir, going along with the Batman theme. And after that thing, if that didn't already hook you in, we have this casino where gangster Chucky Soul is trying to flood Gotham with counterfeit money. And right when he says, like, has anybody got a problem with that? Batman swings in and starts kicking ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely solid opening just to have come in and Batman come in and just kick some ass and just remind you that yeah, who's Batman, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And he does a great job at
Yeah.
Yeah, he is taking names like nobody's business. And so Chucky Soul goes running for an escape, to the parking garage across the street. And by the way, this parking garage is like it's got to be the tallest parking garage I've ever seen because I think it went like
Yeah.
16 stories. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say that he ran across that bridge that's going from like the casino to the parking garage. And like that doesn't look like a safe bridge because it had like no railings or anything on the side. So if you're like in a casino, because yeah, like not to judge, but like about half the time you're probably there for hours and probably drinking, you just like go away, either walk off the edge or if I can drive off the edge or something. Yeah,
yeah,
it probably wouldn't
Yeah.
be. Yeah, it probably wouldn't be a good. It should have had some railings there at least.
maybe that's how the casino owners throw them off when they start getting too much money.
Yeah.
What do you mean OSHA isn't in Gotham City? Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, speaking of safety, when Saul gets to his car, he's got his safety in jeopardy because this is where we're introduced to the recurring antagonist of this movie, the titled Phantasm. So, what did you guys think of this character? Because this is an original character for the movie. This is not based on someone in the comics.
Okay. See, that's despite I think I know quite a bit about Batman, both in the comics and both on like TV and cartoons, movies, all that kind of stuff. I was watching it, and I was just like, because I've known about Mask of the Phantasm for such a long time. I think I just always assumed it was like a character that I had missed somewhere, or maybe it was a character that was part of DC, like when it was called Detective Comics, like a long time ago, and people forgot about. So I didn't realize it was a brand new character made for this movie, and so I was really, really interested in like where they came from, what they were doing, and I was really interested in like this whole mist thing that they had going on that was just
Hmm.
like around them all the time.
Yeah.
I thought it was just like a very cool look slash presentation. They came across really like ominous and like, oh,
Very
you're
ethereal.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then you're reading me my last rights.
Yeah.
Maybe I should be worried. I don't know.
Yeah. This
I
dude
know
comes
that.
in. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Adam.
yeah, I was gonna say even for like Gotham City, like they made like their entrance and made themselves scary, even though like because this is like a better they had better entrance than like Batman does most of the time because he'll just like show up and be and it's more of a jump scare for Batman than like ominous like in your head scary like this one is because he said that he has like the mist and like the booming voice even like bigger and deeper than mine even so and then like the yeah, the big cloak and the friggin' metal mask and that hand that's a fucking axe,
Yeah.
like a half axe or whatever. Yeah, that'd be scary as fuck. Yeah, just like them showing up in like in a parking garage.
Yeah.
Because even for me, like, because I'm like tall, so like parking garages. I'm not claustrophobic, but like I guess that's be like closest I guess to I guess feeling like that because I always feel like I'm gonna fucking hit my head on like on the pipes always up there too. So like so I guess for like the parking garage is like somewhat claustrophobic, and then like that fucking shows up to you and like at night, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
it's not fucking Batman.
Yes. Yeah.
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 Yeah. This Grim Reaper looking like
Yeah,
character
yeah,
with like
because
smoke coming around. It's so spooky.
yeah, because
Mhm.
at least with Batman at this point they know what to expect with him, but then this shows up and he's like, oh Batman, they're like, oh shit, it's not Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even Chucky says that when he like pulls a gun on him and like starts shooting and the bullets do nothing.
Yes. Yeah. I was also like, it's I like how the movie starts almost the same way the TV show does because like the TV show is really good at just like getting into the story and telling a full story in like 22 minutes.
Hmm.
And like that was kind of what I was worried about when I was watching it. Like the movie started and it started like an episode of the show. And I'm like, that means they only have like 20 minutes of story. What are they gonna do with the next hour? Like I was so confused as to where they were gonna go with it. And I'm very happy that, they managed to actually pull something off. But yeah, they start the story really, really quick. So there's no like sitting around and waiting and trying to figure out like what's going on, where are they going, that kind of thing, which drives me crazy for some movies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
because
very little padding in this movie.
Hmm.
Yeah. I'm kind of glad they didn't start the movie off with like the flashbacks a bit and then got into it and stuff. Yeah, because I felt that kind of would have been boring and stuff. Yeah, but they definitely like that because that was definitely a problem with like there were like a lot of the two-parters like that we've covered so far in this. So like the second episode, they have like 5 minutes worth of like solid story and the rest is like filler and they think so most of them except for like maybe one or two of them didn't really necessitate a second episode.
Hmm.
Really? So I could definitely see like definitely because this movie like ran like I think it was like 76 minutes. Yeah, so just over an hour or so. Like
Hmm.
definitely would have sucked if it was the same thing that yeah like it lasted like a half an hour. Then they were like, oh, I guess we need to fill time now for the next 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thankfully, yeah, they had everything yet. But I think that the only one thing that will probably come out, yeah, we'll get to it. Like that, I felt it may have been a bit of padding, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, so Chucky starts shooting at this character. By the way, they don't actually call him the Phantasm in the movie. It's just, because of the title of the movie, that's kind of what they go with, just for like the outline here. But starts shooting at him, and at first he thinks it's Batman, but he's like, "You ain't the Bat," and like he's like, you know, getting attacked by him. The Phantasm jumps on his car, smashes the windshield and he tries to like run over the Phantasm. Smoke gets blown in front of him, like through the windshield's like, big gaping hole in it. And that's when he realizes he's driving off the side of the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, pulls Fast and Furious 7, I like to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew this movie was not setting. I knew this movie was like going beyond the TV show
Hmm.
when you're like, oh, you're killing people.
Yeah.
What? Well, because as soon as like, because at first I was like, no, he's not dead. He can't be dead because that's not what this show does. But I was like, wait a second, it's the movie because so he pulls like a Fast and the Furious. The car goes from the building he's in and crashes into the building across the street and stops. Now, if this was the TV show, you would have seen like the car door open and the guy stumble out or something. Because
Yeah.
that's one thing they have always been good with the TV show was like nobody is dead. So here's proof this guy lives,
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
they'll have episodes where like a guy falls out of a zeppelin but lands on like an awning and like gets up and rubs his head. Like they'd have that kind of shot. And I was expecting that shot when that happened. Like car door, like I said, car door opens, guy stumbles out. It didn't happen. I was like, what? And I know you're gonna go to the next scene in a second, but there's like a press conference and they're like, and then they talk about like what happened to Saul, but they never officially say it. But you get it the scene after that where you're just like, oh my god, like they're killing people. This is next level. It was
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. They have this great way of like pushing the envelope because obviously like with it being like on a theatrical release they have a different guideline for censors that they wouldn't have with the TV show on a Saturday morning cartoon, but at the same time they're able to kind of work their way around it because yeah, we don't see this guy's like remains splattered on the inside of his car when he crashes into the adjacent building, but he's very clearly dead.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Which I was, as I said, I was shocked by because I'm like, this is not what you guys do. What is happening? Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, it's yeah, and Chucky Soul is such like a gangster name. Like he couldn't like be like anything else other than like a gangster. I don't think. I mean, with
Exactly.
that name, with that name in Gotham City.
You know what I found funny is even when they show his tombstone later, it doesn't say Charles Soule, it says Chucky Soule.
It does. Because then it makes you confusing. Who's this Charles you're talking about? Like his
Who
Yeah.
name's
the fuck is
actually
Charles?
his name's actually like Charles Solomon, and they had like cut it down and you're like, who is this
Yeah.
person you're talking about anymore? Yeah.
Yeah. No, in Gotham City, that's probably on his birth certificate. His birth certificate is Chucky Soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just like one name, like not like first name Chucky, last name Soul, just Chucky Soul.
Yeah.
He really related to that killer doll. Yeah. This guy speaks to me in a way I can't explain. But
Yeah.
yeah, as you had mentioned, Tracy, the next scene is press conference with Gordon and Bullock, but it's led by Councilman Arthur Reeves. So Reeves is actually a character from the Batman comics, and he has also an anti-Batman kind of agenda in the source material. Here, he's kind of like this, a little bit of a smug Harvey Dent type. But because he's a city councilman, I'm kind of confused as the movie kind of progresses as to how much authority this guy has. Because he's saying like, Batman's gone nuts and, like we've been, trusting our city safety with a lunatic. And Gordon's role in this movie is basically telling him, no, Batman doesn't kill, and that's all he does. Like
Yeah,
Bullock is arguably in this movie more than Gordon.
which is upsetting. I've noticed that as well because even Gordon's like, I'm not going to participate on your quote unquote demonizing of Batman because he doesn't do this kind of stuff. Walks out the office and then you never see him again. I'm
Yeah.
like, but wouldn't Gordon is the kind of character that would actually actively try to stop them or like not skirt the law, but like stay within the lines of the law
Hmm.
and help Batman at the same time. Like he's not a sideline person. He's not like I wash my hands of these and I'm walking away. Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
And that's sort of how he's presented in this movie, which to me was like you said, it was wasteful of the character.
He really is pulling a Pontius Pilate and just saying like, I will have no part of this. And, like if you want to, go after him and kill him, that's your business. Like, oh, okay. So that's how much you value Batman? Like some rogue cop can just put a bullet in his head. Cool.
Cool. Exactly. Yeah. That was disappointing.
Yep.
And then, of course, Bullock being his usual gung ho, I hate Batman because Batman's always right and I'm always wrong kind of nonsense. And he's just like, yeah, use deadly force. Go ahead. Shoot him if you want. You're like, what? Yeah.
And I love also when like Batman's watching it down in the Batcave with Alfred. He's like watching the press conference, and I love Alfred's sass when he's saying like lunatic. How dare he? By the way, Master Bruce, I put away your exploding gas pellets and pressed your tights for the evening. It's like,
Yes.
thanks.
Yeah, even Bruce was like, "Yeah, thanks, Alfred." like no, and then noting the sarcasm.
Yep.
It's like I'm not paying you for sarcasm, but keep it up.
That's what I love about Alfred. He always has to be there because he's so sassy. Oh my God.
Oh,
All the
he's like
time.
the one person who will always put Bruce in his place.
Correct. And as he should. That's his job.
Hmm.
Yeah, because even at one point, yeah, he says like, "Hey," Batman says to him, he's like, "Oh, you think you know me too well?" He's like, "Well, yeah." I basically said, like wipe your bottom because I've changed your diaper. I should very well should know you, Alfred. He's like, okay, I guess you're right.
I've seen your ass.
Yes.
So yeah, Batman's in the Batcave, and he's studying a piece of broken glass from the crime scene, and notices there's like a chemical residue that's on it, basically from the smoke that the Phantasm left behind. That smoke, by the way, is like not just a motif, but like even in scenes where like the Phantasm's like casually like walking around, the smoke is trailing behind him.
Mhm.
So it's really cool because like they have this great balance until the ultimate reveal of making you feel like, okay,
Ultimate
yes, this is a
destiny.
person in a mask, but also this is someone more than human. It's really cool.
Yes. Hmm. Agreed.
Or they just have like a big like fog machine in the back of their cape as they're walking around.
Oh yeah. That is
Which
just like letting out some good chili dust.
Yeah.
either way, like so, it would be like on par for Gotham. So I don't think anybody would take like a second look if they're just like walking down the road.
Silent
Exactly.
but deadly. Your angel of death awaits. That's for you, Reed. But then we have, I think, a brief kind of this woman on a plane speaking over the phone with Arthur Reeves, and she's coming to Gotham City, and he asks her, "Are you going to be getting back in touch with some old friends?" And as she's hearing this, she's looking at a magazine cover of Bruce Wayne's face. She's like, "Oh, him, he's ancient history." So basically implying that she has a connection with Bruce in some way. And speaking of Gotham's most eligible bachelor, he is being surrounded by ladies at Wayne Manor for a party where they're pretty much like hanging off his arm, just like, so when you gonna, pop the question to one of us? Like, pick me, pick me.
They,
And
I like, I understand, like, as the character, he's not married and stuff because he's Batman. I get it. And he has to have his Playboy persona. But oh my God, every time they show his Playboy persona, it's always these like excessively vapid women everywhere. And I'm just like, go away. Like, oh my, you are clearly just a gold digger. Just go away. Like, no, no, he's not gonna marry you no matter what. You're not bringing anything to the table.
Yeah.
Just end it right there. Yeah.
yeah,
And
and
I
then I
believe,
think that that's when like somebody comes up, another lady comes up and says like, yeah, don't mention the M word to him because he'll just like whine and dine. Yeah, then you're expecting to, to start picking out stuff at the wedding. He like drops you, and then he does like get some wine splash in his face.
yep.
Then he like
Yeah.
th- then he walks off and then goes into one of the office, and that's where they have like the first of the few flashbacks. I
Oh
think
my
that's right. I
gosh.
think this is the first flashback.
I think we need to just for the listener's sanity address that we are going to be jumping from present to flashback so many times in this movie. Like it happens at least like what 10 times? Like
Yeah, I'd say about
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
yeah. So
And like they're not even like short little sequences, like little flashes or anything. No, they're full 5, 10 minute
like scenes.
segments. Yeah, like they're scenes, where
Oh yeah.
you see like how he met this woman and like what I actually really enjoyed is where they showed like young Bruce Wayne slash vigilante, which I thought was very cool because it's something that they don't really present in the animated series. It's just like, no, he's Batman now, and here's the stuff that Batman does.
Yeah,
But they don't show like they don't do like the origin story of Batman. It's just like, here's early Bruce Wayne vigilante
it,
before he even has his persona as quote unquote Batman kind
Hmm.
of
it
thing,
still is. Yeah, still trying to nail it down. Yeah,
which I loved. I really actually really liked that scene. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So like the scene is at the cemetery, and like he's like just just talking to at his parents' grave, just talking. And he says, "Is this scene day? Was it something specific, or just saying like stuff's going on, sort of thing?" I can't remember.
I
Uh
think he was quiet like cuz like when he's like just kind of standing there in front of his parents' grave, he hears someone talking and it's this woman who we saw on the plane, Andrea, and he's like, "Oh, I thought you were talking to me." She's like, "No, I'm talking to my mother." And she points to the gravestone. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Like I didn't mean to, like judge or, interrupt." She's like, "I'm not the only person who, talks to their, like loved ones in the cemetery." And one thing that I find really interesting here is because a lot of this movie deals with Bruce's reconciling with his past with the loss of his parents, because that's of course the inciting incident that leads to him becoming Batman, is the fact that he deals with it in silence because I believe that and this is just my interpretation, Andrea is, when she's talking to her mother, she's talking to the memory of her mother. But when we get to a scene later when Bruce is talking to his parents, he's talking to his guilt personified in what he thinks his parents want. Because, and when we get to that scene in question, I won't say too much of the matter now. Like any parent would want the best for their child. They wouldn't want their child to grow up, become a vigilante, and commit to this dangerous lifestyle as he chooses for himself. Because I think that's an important distinction here. And that's what I like, is that because he's silent, because he's just kind of like isolating both himself and his emotions, that's what separates him from Andrea. Now, as we find out, Andrea also deals with her grief in a different way later on. But yeah, we won't say too much on that at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's been brought up before in the show. Uh, what's the name of that episode where I think it's the Mad Hatter traps him in like a virtual reality or whatever?
Oh, perchance to dream.
Yeah, perchance a dream. And in that, when he actually talks to his parents are positive, they're nice, and all this kind of stuff. But then there's an episode with the Scarecrow, and all he sees is his father being disappointed in him, because he's failed to like clean up the city. He's failed to become like a quote unquote, in his head, he thinks he's failed his parents,
Mhm.
and his fear manifests as his like father talking down to him, right? And so you have these like two different sides of his mind. It's like if he's like he remembers what his father's actually like, um but he also chooses to believe his father, if he sees him, is going to be disappointed in him, which is always like a very weird thing, because every time you hear anything about his father, you're like, no, this was a nice man who loved you, took care of you, wanted you to do whatever you wanted to be the best version of you. But yet all you can think now that he's dead is that he doesn't hate you, but is like disappointed in every choice that you make. Like I feel like that's such a weird mental state to be in, you know what I mean? But yeah, it comes out in this as well, when he's like, I want to be happy, but that means I'm breaking my promise. I'm like, your dad didn't ask you to make a promise to him to fix the city. You're doing this to yourself,
Yep.
right? So, I mean, I think this is also one of the reasons why people like Batman so much, is that like, yeah, he's dark and brooding, but he's got like a reason for it, and he's got layers. Let's put it that way. He's got layers. He's an onion, you
Like,
know.
oh, damn it, you beat me to it. Fuck.
Are you saying that Shrek is Batman?
You know what? Yeah, yes, he is. In a
I'm down
different
for it.
in the multiverse, Shrek is Batman somewhere. That's what it is. Mhm.
I'm down for you.
Yeah.
Uh, I think, and I'd imagine like it was one of the first, like the first or the second Trek. I went there one day like at 4 o'clock, and I was like the one person in the theater, so I got to like see like Trek like by myself in the theater. Just got to like laugh my ass off like when because I still like that movie and it's still pretty funny. So I'm just finding just like being only freaking loud while I was laughing and like didn't bug anybody. And all the jokes I think as a whole like still played. So
Yeah,
that in the last like
nobody's gonna
year and
disagree
a
with
half
you
or
on that, Adam. Nobody.
so I was glad because I think I've seen I at least saw like the second and third ones in the theater, but I wasn't 100% if I like went and saw like the first one in the theater. So
Hmm.
so I went and saw it there.
So one thing I want to say also about Andrea before we get too carried away. Um, Tracy, did you recognize the voice of Andrea?
I actually did not, and I had to look it up. And when I looked it up, I was like, really?
Hmm.
That's crazy. Yes, Dana
One
Delaney.
Dana Delaney.
Yeah.
And if you
And
guys don't know,
Maniacs.
is she in
Yeah, that's it.
Animaniacs?
No, it's just like in the theme song one time they say her name, Dana
Oh, okay.
Delaney and Maniacs. So
Oh, no way.
and always that's for some reason stuck in my head. So every time I hear her name, I always have to say Animaniacs
There you
Yeah.
go.
because I'm still
Well,
12.
yeah, we all are. So Dana Delaney is also, if you guys listening don't know, the voice of Lois Lane on the Superman animated series. And she also becomes a later love interest for Bruce in the World's Finest crossover. So it's kind of interesting. Like, not only did she clearly like make an impression with like the creators of the show when they eventually took on that series, but like she does a great job here because like how would I describe Andrea as a character? She definitely sees Bruce as an equal. Like she's not intimidated by, like his flashy persona. Like she can see the man underneath and she can hold her own. Like even as she have a moment later on where, like she sees Bruce like, practicing jujitsu in the front yard. she like manages to knock him off his feet, quite literally.
But also he's like, so what is that? And he's like, jujitsu. And she says, God bless you. I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
This is what you call good banter.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they got good
Yeah,
chemistry.
because
Yeah.
because that was like the second meeting they had because they met met at like a party or something, and then like she goes and she's like, hey, it's been like a couple days or whatever since we met.
No, I
What's
think
going on?
it
No calls, or it
uh
was somewhere or
well, it was
something.
just it was after they met at the cemetery.
That's it. Okay,
Yeah.
not the party at the
Yeah.
cemetery. Yeah, and
Because
then
again, no,
she's
they
like,
didn't.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because she's like, it's been like 3 days and no call, and he's like, you expect every man to call you? And she's like, kind of, yeah. Well, what's your problem?
By the way, she
Well,
never gave him her phone number.
Yeah, but I feel like it's one of those. It's one of those things where you're just like, it's Bruce Wayne. If he wanted somebody's number, he would find their number. Like, I don't think that's an issue for him.
and that was the day of the phone book, so you could just if you knew somebody's name, you could
That's
look them
true.
up in the phone book too. Like, that was a thing back in the day because
Yes.
I used a phone book before.
Oh,
Yeah.
so have I. Yes. Let's age ourselves right now. This is great. You
Bruce
know, when
just
they,
throws a yellow pages at Alfred and says, find her for me.
yeah, exactly.
By the way,
Yeah,
when these two are flirting on the lawn and like he basically like, pins her down after, she's knocked him on the ground and he knocks her on the ground. Alfred is in the background and Alfred is such a cuck. Like, oh my gosh, he's just like,
well,
"Ugh."
yeah, I think that was the first of like a couple times where like he just like walks out and they're like starting they're starting kissing and he's like oh and just like and
It does a
turns
turn
back
around.
around. Yeah,
But
Yeah,
he's taking his time walking out.
yeah. It's great though. Yeah, I
Yeah, because
like.
he does that
Yeah.
at least twice, like, I think, or
Yep.
something, or like two to three times
Hmm.
throughout the movie.
But I really like this character. Like she's not like a damsel. She's not begging for attention. She's not. I don't know. She just seems like really smart. You know, kind of like with it and can fend for herself. And I really really enjoyed that about this character.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say like she's probably even a better match for him than even Selena. Like that's saying something.
Yeah, because I think the thing is, Selena has always been an antagonist, right? Like, she doesn't like Bruce Wayne. She likes Batman. But even when she's with Batman, she's just trying to rile him up or fight him all the time.
Mhm.
And when she's with Bruce, she's very like platonic, which is fine. She's like, I want to be friends. But no, he's like, no, I'm asking you out on a date to not be friends. Like, this is what we're here for. And she's like, no, 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 Bruce, we're just gonna be friends. And he's like, he's getting it, but not getting it. But she's flirting with him, but not flirting with him at the same time, which is really annoying.
Mhm.
Whereas, what is it? Andrea? She shows up and she's like, she's very, she's straightforward without being like crass or antagonistic about it. And but she knows what she wants. She knows how she wants to be treated. She tells what her emotions is. She doesn't try to hide anything from him. And is like very open about it. And even when Bruce is being cagey and doesn't want to tell her all his secrets, she's like, you know what? You're gonna have to choose at some point in time, but you can do it at your own pace. But also, you have to remember if you're trying to build something with someone, you kind of have to be open with them.
Yeah, you got to
And
let your walls down.
yeah, and he does. He clearly does start doing that. And he's clearly like trying to do that. And but she gives him the space to allow him to do that without, trying to fight him about it, which is great.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good like long flashback. Yeah, so like
Mhm.
then what? I forget what happens after the flashback
The
now.
next scene is probably one of the creepiest scenes that I remember from this movie, which is this gangster Buzz Bronski goes in the middle of the night to a cemetery. One,
Oh yeah,
I hate the idea of cemeteries at night. I always have, and I always will.
Mhm.
And he goes to Chucky Saul's grave and says, Chucky, Chucky, you always were a loser, throws a wreath very casually on it. And then we hear that spooky Grim Reaper voice of the Phantasm saying, Buzz Bronski, your angel of death awaits.
Yeah.
And for me, like I'm not that scared of a cemetery, but like at night in this certain instance, and then hearing that voice and like that having that friggin' smoke or whatever, I'd be that would I'd definitely be fucking scared as hell as well. I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think he had the right reaction where he's just like, I have to get out of here.
Yeah, that's my
But
time to run.
But also, that whole sequence was really, it was kind of nerve-wracking because it was like well put together and it wasn't too long either, you know? It wasn't like running through the graveyard, duck here, duck here, duck here, climb a tree, jump out of a tree. Like it wasn't all that nonsense, but it was definitely like, he was running, he tripped over what? He tripped over like a wheelbarrow. There was like an accident and he like picks it up to defend himself and the phantasm comes and like breaks it and he's like holy shit and then he falls backwards into like a grave or something and then they show the fear on his face as he's trying to like climb out of the grave and he sees this giant angel headstone and he's just like oh my god,
Yeah.
and you're
That
just
was
like
the,
what?
yeah.
Yeah.
That was the part that creeped me out because, like, you see this guy like struggling, like I need to get out. Like he's like literally clawing his way up like the muddy walls of this open grave as like the figure of death is coming on his shoulders,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden the thing disappears. He's like, "Oh," I breathes a sigh of relief, and then the statue pushes over and falls on top of him.
Yes. It's like it's so horrible because like they of course they're not showing the gore of it, right? But you
Yeah,
know what's happened. And then his henchmen who were like by the car and heard her screaming was like they were looking for him. They find him and the look of horror on their faces before
yeah.
they like cut to the next scene. I was like, oh my God.
Our
Dark.
boss is hamburger meat.
Yeah, it's definitely heavier. Like if you're sitting with your kids watching Batman the animated series, wait a couple of years before you
Yeah.
come back and show them this one. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, because I think I would have been 12 years old like when this hit theater. Or actually, no, I would have been like the 93. Yeah, so December 93. I was still being 13 when this hit theater. So maybe it was a good thing I probably didn't see this in the theater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would argue it's actually more disturbing to not show like the guy's like pulverized remains because that leaves it up to your imagination to think of what the last image of this guy is.
Yeah.
And that's arguably creepier.
Yeah,
That's
it's always much worse than what it is
Yeah.
usually. Yeah.
yeah. That's what makes good horror movies work. So yeah, I agree with
Got it.
you. Yeah. Yeah, because I'm sitting there, I'm like, wait, what if like it's just like the angel's head embedded in his head? Like what if it's just like that? I don't know. I don't know. It's just like, yeah, you just picture the worst case scenario of all of it. It's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah. But
So
yes.
the goons, as they find their, like pudding made boss, left in the open grave, they see the phantasm escaping, but because they can't get a good look at him, they think it's Batman, so they
Yeah,
start shooting at him.
I think they see like a cape going behind one of the tall gravestones. Yeah, so obviously, yeah, you're gonna being like what time of night it is and stuff. Yeah, obviously like you're gonna assume it's Batman. Yeah, so they start shooting and they're like, oh, it's Batman.
Yeah, because they don't know about any other caped
No,
vigilante in town. So, Batman it is automatically.
yeah, yeah. I think he is only one with a cape. Yeah, that I remember at least with everybody. Yeah, so and Superman doesn't never shows up in this series. So yeah. Oh
Mhm.
yeah, so it's him or Robin, yeah,
Yep.
and it was a dark cape, yeah. So definitely, I would assume it would be Batman as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a good assumption I had to say the least.
So then after that scene, we have Arthur Reeves in Gordon's office and saying, "You have to do something. Batman's killing gangsters. Won't someone think of the gangsters?" And Gordon's like, "I won't have any part of it. You want him, you get him." Which again, to Tracy's point, like, dude,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
your boy. Like,
Well, that's the thing. Like in other episodes of the TV show, there have been other times where, well, I mean, a lot of people in the city are like against Batman, right? Especially people in power who have done things that are wrong. And they've always pressured Gordon to like hunt him down. And he's like, no, he's a good guy. And then you see him later talking to him, giving him like information, trying to help him or like whatever. Whereas here, he just like walks out. And you also have like Batman who's they do like a quick pan after he walks out and you see Batman is like by his window just outside hearing all of this. And yes, it proves that Gordon is still quote unquote on his side, but also Gordon's not going to help you.
Yeah.
So that's not a good thing.
Is arguably one of the most political moves that Gordon has made on this show.
Yeah. I mean, but like the politically wrong moves, I
Oh,
think.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, because like Reeves says to, and again, like the fact that a city councilman is like taking the authority to, like grab Bullock and a couple of cops and say like, well, gentlemen, any ideas? And they turn the bat signal on to lure him to a trap, basically. And Batman obviously was, listening to all of it, the plan there and saying, I'm not falling for that crap.
Yeah.
And so they're just kind of, sitting there on the rooftop, just like, oh, you should be here by now. Like, like just wasting their time
Mhm.
and police resources, I might add.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And so Batman goes to the cemetery to investigate the crime scene of Bronski, and he sees the same chemical residue from the crime scene of Chucky Saul. And that's when he hears a familiar voice, and it's that of Andrea. So as he's doing that, he's near. Okay, this is the thing. I had to rewatch this a couple times to realize how Andrea makes the connection that Batman is Bruce Wayne. It's because he's near the Wayne tombstone, which I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, I
but
thought that was like a like that was like a big leap. Like it
that's
was
a
a
lucky
big
guess,
yeah.
but it's a guess.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I guess that kind of ties into to the first flashback, because that's how like but still, yeah, like I assume that like that's why Batman is in the cemetery for at a random time. It's a bit of a stretch, yeah,
Yeah,
but I guess it's
yeah,
just
because the
go ahead.
yeah, sorry, because the thing is that like yes, Batman does stop at the Wayne gravestone
Yeah,
and like mourns for a moment and everything, but she doesn't see that, right?
yeah, so
She just sees him come around a corner. That's all she sees, and she's like, "Oh, that has to be Bruce Wayne because he was near this giant gravestone that he could have been hiding behind." Even though there was like a crime just over there, I wonder what he could be doing here. Like what? Like it's like of course we as a viewer know she is right, but if you didn't know she was what right, you'd be like, wait, what does Wayne have to do with anything? Is what your first thought would be.
Yeah, I'm not saying that the writers have to spoon feed us, like in terms of like connecting the dots, but yeah, it's a bit of a leap.
Yeah, agreed.
yeah, true,
And that's where we have the next scene of Reeves talking to Andrea in a restaurant. Batman's across the street watching with his binoculars, and
In
I
the
think
rain.
in the rain, yeah. And he's able to read their lips to understand what they're saying to each other. Because
Batman's being a sad boy. Don't what do you
Mhm.
mean?
Yes.
Being out in the rain.
Yeah.
oh my gosh, he's listening to Simple Plan. Do you ever feel like avenging your parents?
Yeah. I just thought that whole scene was a creepy and a very funny. Because I'm just like, I mean, he does this all the time where he's like trying to track somebody and whatever, and he just hangs. It doesn't matter the weather. He's doing his job. He's like the post office, right? It's fine. But I'm like, he's all there, and they make sure to show all the water running down his mask every time they
Mhm.
like get close to him, and it's like, oh no, some of those are tears, guys. They're
Yeah.
tears. You can see that they're actually tears. It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can't hide your pain like this, Batman. We see you. It's okay. Yeah.
I swear it's the rain.
Yeah.
it's also the rain coming from between my legs too.
Yeah, and especially when they show the close up of Andrea and what's his face holding hands at the table, and they cut back to him, and he's all like no, and you're like what? It's fine.
I love that. Like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah,
first,
you could see the little quiver happening. You know, he's like my heart.
I would love to see someone animate or do in live action like Batman, just like quivering lip, like
Yeah,
looking at something.
he gets all pouty. You know.
What could
Yes.
have been?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my
Mm.
gosh.
But I will say that is a dramatic scene, and if it was live action, whoever was acting it would have gotten an Oscar. It'd been amazing.
Oh yeah.
And is that where like they have like the second flashback where it's like
Yep.
they're going to like that to the which always made me think now of the Stark Expo that
That's where my
It's
meant to, yeah.
that's exactly what it was. Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
good. Okay, it wasn't just me though. I was thinking that then was like expecting to see like a floating car prototype.
Yeah. Yeah, Batman's like going to enlist in the like the giraffe for World War II, knocks
Yeah.
aside a skinny Steve Rogers.
Yeah. Get out of the way.
Out of the way,
You see some
polio
of
boy.
Yeah.
yeah, you can be my ward later and be Batman, be Robin instead.
Yeah. That'll come in real handy in the trench fire when they're like looking who to shoot the guy in red, green, and yellow.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have this really nice scene. Yeah, them at the World's Fair, and they're riding through like like this kind of Tomorrowland looking expo where like they're saying about like the future of Gotham today, and like all these like robots singing like all the stuff. So like it's a really nice nostalgia feel to it. Like if anything, makes me kind of want to go to Disney World. But
Yeah.
yeah, probably not Warner Brothers' intention, but there you go.
Yeah.
And then I think that's at one point that's where he ends up seeing like a prototype for the Batmobile,
Mhm.
which kind of contradicts like the mechanic episode really because he gets that one guy to like build like because he didn't have like the Batmobile like as he does now, and he gets him to build it. So I guess he might have just been like, hey, make it look like this sort of thing. Maybe Matt had more input than he
Or I
made it
mean,
seem in that
or
episode.
he could have bought that car and taken it to the mechanic and be like, "Hey, make it look cooler." And I'm like, "All right, let's do
Because
this."
he did have an original like Batmobile before he met the mechanic, so like
Yes.
that was actually in the production notes. It resembles more the car that he brought that was kind of like a beaten up kind of jalopy. That the I forget the Earl, I think it was the mechanic's name.
Yeah, I think
That
so.
he decided to redesign. But yeah, the thing that's interesting here is as Andrea's like, "What are you thinking about?" He's like, "Oh, just the future." And I think this comes down to the heart of what the flashbacks are about, is because Bruce is at a crossroads in his life. He's at this point where he's like, "Am I thinking about love, or am I thinking about the plan?" Because this entire flashback sequence shows what would have happened if Bruce decided not to be Batman, the life he could have had, which both is an original story because it's not something that's based in the comics, and really well done because they give it all the pacing that it needs to, get you invested in both Bruce and Andrea, but also just showing that juxtaposition between it really feels like fate is kind of nipping at his heels every time he's making, a choice to be with Andrea, like whether it's the Batmobile or as they're like leaving the park and, they're going to try and have a talk with her father, because he wants to meet Bruce. That's when Bruce sees these thugs who are, being, sicking on this old man with a cash box, and he
Mhm.
goes into Batman mode or pre-Batman mode, uh, and is ready to, like take some names.
Mhm.
And this fight scene was really good. Like
Yes.
for like Bruce in like pretty much like a turtleneck and khakis, like taking on these like street bikers. Like it was solid.
Mhm. Well, because he's not Batman yet, so he's not trying to like hide a side of himself. So he just full on was like, "No, I need to stop this injustice" as Bruce Wayne,
Hmm.
and Andrea's just like, "Well, no," but then she's like, "Yeah, I see what you mean, but just don't get yourself killed." Essentially, is what she says, and she just stands there and watches him like take these people out, right?
Yeah.
And like I feel if they got married, Bruce Wayne, billionaire tough guy, would have been perfectly acceptable, right?
Hmm.
Like you don't do nonsense like this in front of Bruce Wayne and think you can get away with it. He will just punch you in your face.
Yeah, I don't need a
Absolutely
lawyer
fine.
to take you down, pal. Like,
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. But his biggest fear was like, oh no, Andrea's here. She's too close to this. She's gonna get hurt, and he gets distracted for that millisecond,
hmm
and that's when they get him. He
Yeah.
gets the bat to the stomach, and you're just like, and that's when he starts questioning this relationship. Like he was legit. He later on he actually says he's happy. Am I allowed to be happy? Like he says it. But the happiness wasn't stopping him before, but as soon as he realized the people that he loved could be in danger because he does this, that's when he's just like, well, now I have to pick one. I
yeah.
can't do
Yeah.
both. Yeah.
And I believe around after this is when Andrea introduces him to her father,
The
Carl
office.
Beaumont.
Hmm.
And they're he's just like finance type in his like nice office, and he's joined by Arthur Reeves, a young Turk as he calls him. That's a term that will have a different meaning later on in today's age,
Yeah.
but yeah, so he's like, this is like the guy who's like looking after a lot of my paperwork and stuff. And he says to Bruce, like, yo, like, money is good, but there's nothing more important than family. And Bruce is, kind of get. I also like how Carl looks a little like Thomas Wayne, like from the portrait
Yeah.
that we see. Like, I don't think that's a coincidence.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like
I
he'd met him and he's like, this might be my new father figure.
Yeah.
And then, the gangsters show up and he's like, there's an issue.
so yeah,
Yeah.
something's going on here. Yeah.
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 But yeah, but I did notice the Thomas Wayne look-alike now.
Yeah.
I may have to go back and watch this again. Yeah, not that I
By,
really need an excuse to watch this again.
by the way, that gangster who shows up, Salvatore Valestra, did you guys recognize the voice of him?
Again, I looked it up, but
Uh,
yeah. No,
uh, 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 Abe Vigoda.
Good Burgers, Abe Vigoda.
yeah.
I still can't believe he's in that movie. Like,
I think for a while there he was just like, what? I get to have fun, I get paid for it. I'm doing it.
Yeah,
That's all he did. It was
yeah.
fine.
yeah. And is that where we cut to the present where actually that same gangster, Valestra, is reading the paper and realizing both Chucky Soul and Buzz Bronski are dead, and he's
Hmm.
terrified. And so Arthur Reeves is walking down the street when he has a car pull up next to him and tells him to get in. And
Wait,
it's
sorry. Sorry, before we get to that part.
Mhm.
So when we get to what is his name? Valestra, you
Yeah.
see he's in his big empty house by himself in his big empty chair reading this newspaper, and he has like asthma attack, panic attack, whatever you want to call it. And they show like the liver spots on his hands, and he's got to reach for his oxygen. And you're like, oh, this is not a big tough guy anymore.
No.
He's a sad old man who's by himself.
Yeah.
And but then he still wants to live. He still wants his power, and he has that like he's like, well, I want to live. I have to figure something out. And
Mhm.
then, yeah, and then it goes to the next scene. Sorry, I cut you off, but
No, no, for
I was
sure.
like, showing the difference of him being young and how his body has, degraded slash betrayed him as he's gotten older, even though he's like this man of power. I think is kind of really important for this story because I think when you meet people that you're when they're young and you don't see them for a long time, you always think they're these like big, tough people. but then you come back later on and they're like these like weak, sad people, and you're just like, why are you going after this lame guy for? He's gonna die in a week. Just let it happen. Like,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. This guy, because like when he meets up with Reeves, he's like, Batman's gotten those guys, so he's coming after me next. You know why? And obviously, like like keeping it kind of vague for the pacing of the story at the moment. And Reeves says like, I don't want anything to do with you. He's like, like why don't you ask for police protection? And like, first of all, in Gordon City, yeah, right. But also, well, Gordon's having a bit of a kind of off-brand kind of season he's going through right now, but whatever. He's like, "Yo, this is Batman we're talking about. He'll crucify me." And yeah, he's like struggling to like breathe through the oxygen tank, and Reeves is just like, "I don't want any part of this, like you're on your own." And I love his line as he's telling the driver to pull over. He's like, it's not healthy in here, and
Yeah.
closes the door. And I love like the like still image of Valestra, just like this shocked look on his face, like what?
Yeah. It's like, how dare you,
You're saying that to me.
Yeah, but
It's like,
even though,
also,
even though it's very true, how dare you?
yeah. But also I think it shows that he's losing his like power over people as well, cuz he's like, this little punk, I gave him money, I brought him up. He used to be scared of me and now he's giving me sass?
yep,
What? Like, this is crazy. Like, this is craziness. Yeah.
yeah. This guy thinks he's Jimmy Hoffa, and it's like, buddy, you're not even like a made man on like Goodfellas. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
now go home and get your shine box. So, what happens after that? Is it? Hang on a second here. I should probably know this.
He goes to find his friend to help protect him, and his friend turns out to be the Joker.
That's right. Okay, so little production note here. The Joker was originally not supposed to be in this movie. It
Okay.
was a thing that they decided to do later on, where they realized, like, well, like we can, bring the Joker in because as we see, like later on with the Phantasm after the post reveal, you still need a villain. And so when you see the Joker in this movie, they're able to get away with some stuff that they couldn't have gotten away with on the TV show. Because
Oh
one,
yeah.
he's more physical. Like he like as he's like, talking with Sal, like he like physically manhandles him.
He's throwing him, because even
Oh
I was
yeah.
watching it, I was like, what is he doing? Like, why is he throwing this old man around like this? Like, I know he's unhinged, but wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, like basically getting more violent than he usually is. And even just some of like the implication scenes, like this is probably some of Mark Hamill's like best voice work here.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yep.
Hmm.
And so yeah, Valestra is saying to Joker, uh, like they killed Saul, they killed Bronski, and so they're coming for me next. I'll give you 5 million up front just to deal with Batman. And Joker says, by the way, Joker is hiding in the old World's Fair that Andrea and Batman or Bruce were in on their date. It's just like
Yeah.
all like decayed and rusted over and stuff. It
Forgotten
looks,
about. Yeah.
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 So he says, like, wouldn't it be great if I finally drove Batman crazy? Like, ooh. And he's like, think about it. Like, if he's coming for me, he's coming for you too.
Yeah,
And
yeah, because
that,
he'll like figure it out. But the scene like always made me think though, because I think the Joker would just do it anyway. Like the Joker doesn't need like $5 million to do something. So
oh yeah,
it felt like a little place that I think that like the old mobsters in Gotham should probably know this by now, that the Joker probably doesn't do things for money, or at least this version doesn't strike me that it is like driven by money at least.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, he's an old world gangster, and old world gangsters still feel that money can
I
make
guess yeah.
anybody do anything, and that's why he brought it there. And it was very clear that like he still didn't understand the Joker, even though we sort of, they don't officially say it, but like we figure out that the Joker used to be part of like their gang, and he was like, before he was like the Joker. Of course, later on something snapped, right? And like but like the Joker, it's not just that he's manic, he clearly has bad feelings towards them,
Mhm.
kind of thing. That's what I was getting about, because the manhandling seemed more I don't know,
Personal.
personal. Yeah, personal than you'd want it to be. And I think that's one of the reasons why comes across so uncomfortable as well.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's kind of like this is my way of getting back at you for, like how you kind of put me in my place like years ago.
Mhm. Well, yeah, because he was like the lower man on the totem pole, so he's like their lackey, right? So he'd probably have
Hmm.
to put up with their garbage continuously beforehand. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, as Valestra says, like, if my hands are dirty, yours are dirtier. And I love like the Joker like getting like pissed off when he's getting grabbed by the collar by Valestra. He's
Mhm.
like, "Don't touch me, old man. I don't know where you've been."
Yeah, I like the change of tone, and it's clear that suddenly the Joker's knows what he's gonna do. But
Hmm.
like as the audience and as Valestra, you don't know what he's gonna do. You're just like something's weird, and then the Joker's like, "Fine, I'll help you," and he starts laughing, and you're like, "That's not a good sign, man.
Yeah.
That is not a good sign."
Your first
I'm sorry.
mistake is thinking you figured the Joker out.
Joker, yes,
Yeah.
Or I'm like somehow more scared of you right now.
Yeah.
exactly.
So I believe when Batman is looking into he was looking into an apartment, right? And like he saw like the photo of Andrea's father seated with Buzz Bronski and like all the gangsters and Valestra.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Whose office? It was somebody's office, right?
I'm trying to remember that. Yeah, because like that was the frustrating thing when I was writing the outline here is because they jump from past to present so much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure whose office it was, but I believe it was one of the offices of one of the people who had already died,
that's what it was. Yeah.
right? And then he was like he was looking for like evidence. He was looking at, I think he was looking for like, he knew they were all gangsters, but he was looking for a connection.
Mhm.
And then he saw the photos on the wall and he saw all of them together. So like, he's like, they were friends. Maybe they were a gang together when, before his time kind of thing. I think is what they're kind of getting at. And, like yes, he was alive, but he wasn't, into the underbelly of the city at the time. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, so this picture helped him put together some of the pieces of why somebody would be going after these specific gangsters. Mhm.
Yeah, and that's where later on he goes to interrupt Andrea, who's coming home from a date with Arthur. And I love how, like, Andrea, when she turns on the light, she's not even phased that Batman's hiding in the dark. She's just like, "Oh,
Uh,
it's
oh,
you."
oh yeah, because like when they open the door, she sees that the like the door to the balcony is open.
Yeah,
Oh, I
So
didn't catch
she
that.
yeah, she knew
okay.
she knew he was there, and
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why she kissed the other
yeah,
dude
yeah,
to like
because
make him
Ah,
feel uncomfortable. She did
yeah,
that
yeah,
on purpose.
yeah,
interesting.
she did. She like made like definitely like kissy noises with it and it did like a little moan or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's definitely, I was like, yeah, I definitely clocked that. And she's like, yeah, she's doing it on purpose. Yeah, because I saw that the balcony it was because it was like raining or something like that. So like the thing was flapping in the wind too. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
Mhm.
she's like, yeah, put it on. She's like, yep, hi, how's it going, Batman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also love how Andrea's like totally unfazed at like, the thought of Batman. Like even though she knows this Bruce Wayne, like the fact that like you're seeing this entirely dark side of Bruce Wayne in more ways than one, like standing in your apartment, like she's not like intimidated at all by him.
Yeah, but
Because
I think that's because she, despite her not initially knowing that Bruce Wayne is Batman and she just figured it out, I think she figures it out partially because she's like, I've seen this dark side. I've seen him beat the crap out of people. I've seen him get mad about injustices. So to her, she's like, you're a young kid in a mask. Like I'm not worried about you. Like I can go toe to toe with you, and you know it. It's fine. Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, because he's like trying to find out like where her father is because he realizes like he's a missing piece of the puzzle, and she's basically not giving him any answers. And he's like he catches her to lie because when he talked to Reeve, when she was talking to Reeves, she said, like we're closer than ever, me and my dad. And when she tells him, like, try looking for my dad in Madagascar or something, he's like, that's not what you told Reeves. Like, what do you read lips too? He's like, actually, yes. And she's like, oh, really? We'll read them now. Get out.
She's so good. She's so good. Yeah.
And she has an even better retort because, like, he says, like, are you still taking orders from your old man? She's like, as far as I'm concerned, the only person in this room who's still following their parents' orders is you.
Yep.
Like,
She knows the
dang.
buttons. She knows the buttons. She knows where to cut. She's
Yeah.
in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Batman was
she,
like walking out, like,
Honestly, if I feel like in that scene, if he could, he would have gasped and clutched his pearls. He'd have been like, "How dare you, madam?"
his mother's pearls.
Yes.
and they're already
Yes.
broken, so he couldn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
He just drops them out of his hand. He's like runs away.
Yeah. I was
Yes.
going to give these to you on our wedding day. Yeah. So, Andrea, after she, like, basically, like, tosses him out of her apartment, she starts crying and realizing, like, like how much, like, Bruce still means to her.
Mhm.
So I think this is the part where we have a flashback of Bruce and he's inside Wayne Manor and he's like at this point like still torn between like, do I keep going with my plan or do I go for Andrea, because this is after the biker attack where he's like, I can't be focused on doing what I want to do with my life if somebody is going to be waiting for me to come home. So he's at this crossroads of, kind of figuring out like what he's supposed to do. I also love outside the window, a bat just zips by. Like it's just very subtle and like blink and you miss it, but it's just like, oh, I love when the animators and the writers like are just like in tandem with each other.
Yeah. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love those little scenes.
And after he's like saying to Alfred, like I don't know what to do. Like I just don't know what to do. And he says, Andrea's on the phone right now. What do you want me to tell her? He's like, I don't know. I just don't know. And that's when we have the scene of him going to his parents' grave. So this is probably one of the most powerful scenes emotionally in the movie
Mhm.
because he's like saying to is the tombstone, like, I know I made a promise, but like I want to be able to be happy. Like, can't I just be happy? As you
Yes.
said before. And like he's just like just on his knees, just begging. And like again, it's his guilt that he's wrestling with. It's this,
Yeah.
I made a promise, but now I've been given an opportunity to actually have a life of my own, to not live with this guilt.
Hmm.
And that's when Andrea's behind him and says, like, maybe their answer is they sent me to, like give you the peace that you need.
Yeah.
And they're like hugging in the rain. It's beautiful. Like between Kevin Conroy's performance, Dana Delaney's performance, and just the music and the animation, it is stellar movie making.
It is. Yeah. It's if this was live action, it'd be like amazing cinematography. Like they've just the how they light them in the dark, how they do like the lightning crashing as he's like, on his knees in the rain and like his face lights up and it goes back and forth out of like light and dark and it, cuts to it always shows the Wayne tombstone as like a monolith because it's
Hmm.
always like the way they draw it. It's like the angle of the camera is from the ground upward, so it looks so heavy and so overpowering. And he kneels in front of it, and they make it look even bigger. And you could it's like a real visual of the weight of this pressure that he's put on himself
Hmm.
that's shown, and I actually think he says that I think he's like, I know I'm breaking my promise, but I didn't expect to be happy, as I think is what he said.
Yeah.
And because he makes it seem like it's a fault that he's like, I didn't expect to be happy. Like I expected to be like sad and depressed my whole life to be able to do this. Like there's nothing wrong with being happy,
Yeah.
but he still needs forgiveness to be happy so that he can have this life that he wants. He the other side of a life that he wants to lead. Let's put it that way.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very powerful scene, and
Mhm.
he afterwards is on the beach with Andrea, and he says like she's saying that she's about to go to Europe, and he's like, "Can't you hold off on it for a little while?" And she's like, "Well, like, what do you need me to hold off on it for?" And he's like, "Well, I could, I'm no good at this," and pulls out an engagement ring, and she's like, "What?"
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he can't even express a happy emotion. Like, come
Yeah,
on. Come on, dude. But she is clearly happy, and that is a massive stone on that ring. And yeah, no, you're just like, what? He could have been married and having a good time instead of like lurking in caves. What? It's crazy.
and
But then, yeah,
speaking of
sorry.
caves, that's when a flock of bats just like and screeching right in front of them, interrupting the moment. I just
And
picture
that,
like they're shrieking in their like bat language. Stay away from our boo, Yoko.
yeah, and that's where he shows like that she's scared, and then he kind of like has that realization that he could be like do like the whole because going back to like the first flashback where he was like being like the vigilante, but they weren't scared of him. So he's kind of I think that's where he kind of gets the being scared of like the Batman instead of gives him that idea. I think.
Hmm. Apparently, a group of bats can also be called a cauldron of bats, which
Oh,
I think
Cauldron,
is
yeah.
amazing.
I was wondering that because it's definitely not a murder because that's crows.
That's crows, yes.
I was like, and I was trying to think about what that could have been, but I don't think I've
Yeah.
actually heard that before. So
Because I
That
remember
is
it was like,
badass.
exactly, I remember it was like some crazy word that you're just like, yeah, you
yeah,
know? And I was like, oh, I gotta look this one up. It's gotta happen. But yeah, I mean, they have a couple. They have Colony and Cloud and Flock and Cauldron. So,
yeah. The first three are not fun.
no,
I like a call
Cauldron's the right one. Yeah.
like a colony. Nope.
Yeah,
Yeah. Screw colonialism.
exactly.
So yeah, I think that's where it like cuts to like Valentry's place at night, and that's where you see like the initially you think it's Batman, and it goes up to like the chair, and it turns it around, and and then it's like the looks like Valentry's like being like Joker venomed. And
Yeah.
then
Oh,
like the
yes.
camera there, that has a camera there, and he's like over the intercom. He's like, "Oh, you're not who I thought you were," because up to this point, everyone thought it was Batman that was doing the killings instead of the Phantasm. Which, to their credit, seeing the cape and being at night, I
Mhm.
would, as I said before, I would suspect that as well. But then it turns out that's where they finally figure out that it's the Phantasm doing the stuff. Yeah, then he's like going saying like, "Oh, very well, now so you're here," and then he finds out that he just goes and jumps out the window just before the place explodes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually found this to be one of
So and then
the more gruesome scenes in the movie.
Hmm.
Because when he pulls the paper down, you see
yeah,
Valestra's like he's very pale, absolutely grotesque, and with that
yeah,
like crazy like I'm
Rictus
assuming it's
grin.
Grin.
yeah, it's like his like Joker venom or whatever he's put into him. And you're just like, wait, what? He's already dead. Um and then he's got a bomb in his lap, and then they just blow up the building, and
Mm,
you're just like, excuse
yeah,
me?
Yeah, a lot has happened in the last like 15 seconds. Like,
Yes, like what? I mean, I know the Joker was gonna do something bad, but what?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
this is what you won't let me do in 22 minutes.
exactly. It's like we're gonna put it all out there. We're gonna show how bad the Joker really is right now. Okay, it's
Yeah.
not. I mean, we don't like the Phantasm that much, but you want to see somebody real cruel? Here you go.
See,
Yeah.
that's the thing is like, like you've got this Grim Reaper figure who's like coming to, basically like impale the guy on his scythe hand. And then all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, that would actually be a mercy compared to what this
To
happened.
this, yes, exactly, exactly. God, yeah.
So yeah,
Joker's a special kind of bad guy,
yeah.
criminal.
insanity. Like,
That's his superpower. Yes, insanity.
yeah.
Done. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's where the Phantasm is climbing onto the building adjacent and sees the Batwing coming after him. And I love when he's doing that speed run across the rooftop and the smoke is still billowing behind him. It's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, but that's also, I'm like, that's how people can find you. You're literally leaving a trail behind, guy.
That's true, yeah. Like you're just making it easy for Batman. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, I think and that part was the only part where I thought like the animation in this movie wasn't the greatest because it made him look like he was running like almost like flash speed, like
yeah,
going
I thought
across
that too.
going across the rooftop. Yeah, so but aside from that, I think it was like
But
probably the one time like
but wasn't he like,
right.
maybe he wasn't going flash speed, but wasn't he supposed to be going like very fast? Like that wasn't that like the thing?
I think the
Well,
implication because the Batwing is chasing after him and he's still managing to stay somewhat ahead of the Batwing. It's like, wait, so he's faster than a jet?
Yeah, that's true. That's much faster than anything. But yes,
yeah.
yes, indeed. Yeah. It's all kind of
Yes.
crazy.
So Batman jumps out of the Batwing and says, like, like this madness ends here, and has like a fight with the Phantasm. The Phantasm manages to blow a smoke and escape from the scene. I gotta wonder for Batman, it's like, so that's what that feels like.
Yes.
This really
And
isn't
then
cool. It's inconsiderate. Wow. I owe Gordon an apology after he gives me an apology for sicking the police on me.
As you said, he was sending us at the office before, so he knows it wasn't Gordon sending the police. But yeah, I think this is where the four police precincts show up, and like I said, this is probably like one of the scenes where they had like one of the other directors just focus on this scene because I always had like this scene in my head of like I could never remember like what episode it was from, and then when we saw it in the theater last year, I was like, oh, it's from the movie, not one of the episodes.
Yeah. I would also like to point out that the cops are given the authority to use deadly force.
Yes, they
Like,
are.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he killed apparently 3 gangsters.
And they are like recklessly shooting up the whole city.
Yeah.
Like they are just shooting hundreds of bullets just at like the back end of this dark creature that's going all over the place, and they're just putting holes in everything. I'm like, aren't you guys even worried about like I don't know, civilians or damage control or something, like anything? No? Oh,
Think of
okay.
the paperwork.
Exactly. Oh my god.
Well, you should be hanging out at a construction site at night. That's what they tell you not to do because there could be a spontaneous Batman cop shootout. Like, come on,
Yeah.
guys.
That is true. That is true. But also that sequence at the construction site is absolutely crazy. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, Batman gets like wrecked in this scene.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, at one point he's just like crawling through the rubble after like I guess like a grenade went off or something.
No, they
I
shot like for welding, like one of the gas tanks.
That's what it was.
Yeah. So,
Big one.
as I said, that's why they were like, why recklessly shooting into a construction site's not a good idea. Because he's like barely getting away from the cops, and that explodes, and then that's where the uses the distraction of putting his cape and cowl onto like a workhorse sort of thing, and puts it on the crane, and then friggin' barely gets away, and then Andrea. I keep on wanting to say Andrea, but I know that's not right.
Tomato, tomato.
Andrea shows up in the car, and she's like, yeah, and she's like, I saw it on the news that this is going on, so I just so I know you're here with
I
the
would
car.
also like
So
to
I
make
wonder.
mention here that Batman has blood gushing from the back of his head.
Yes.
Yeah. He's definitely concussed in this instance. I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so they managed to haul off, and Bullock's just kind of standing there like, "Arr!" It's like, when you look at the license plate of the car, you idiot! Like, what kind of detective are you? Like,
he just shakes his fists and walks away. I was like, what?
Yeah.
That's not what being a cop is supposed to be about, guys.
Yeah. And also, like, these cops, how are they going to explain this to Gordon? Like,
Yes.
yeah, he said, I'm not going to be a part of this, but like, this is going to be, as Andrea said, this was on the news. Of
Mhm.
course, it's on the news. The cops are shooting up a city block.
Yeah. And it's not just like 5 cops. It was like 200 cops.
Yeah,
Just
so yeah, I think they said like 4 precincts. Yeah, like afterwards,
yeah.
like I think Gordon, yeah, 'cause I think it's Gordon afterwards. Like, he's like, you had 4 precincts. Why couldn't you fucking catch Batman? Like, again, definitely obviously concussed Batman. Why
Yeah.
couldn't you catch him?
Hmm.
Yeah, so they return to Wayne Manor, and Andreas talking to Bruce as Alfred's tending to his wounds. He's like, I'll leave you two alone. Like, probably shouldn't leave your adopted son behind, like, like when he's bleeding from the head, even though you bandaged him. I know he's
Hmm.
with his love interest, but
He's in
yeah.
good hands.
Oh, he's in good hands, all right. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, so he's talking with Andrea, and she says, I should probably owe you an explanation as to what happened the night that you proposed. So I don't think we touched on this when we were speaking about the last flashback, but Andrea had actually, as Bruce was like investigating the Batcave underneath Wayne Manor, Andrea sent him the engagement ring back and says, in a little note that says, I can't do it. I got to be with my father. I've left Gotham. Forget about me.
Hmm.
And that's what cements Bruce into deciding to become Batman, because this scene of him first putting on the Bat costume, first of all, we don't see him, at least from like the front in the costume. It's just from behind.
Yeah.
And
And
you
like
have
a
the,
shadow on the wall.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Hmm.
think like that is like the animators nailing the tone here, because
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah. Because
as
Alfred's there too, and he sees it. And you see him like obviously shook when he puts it on. That it
Yeah.
scares him. Yeah,
Yeah, because
yeah.
doesn't the shadow go across like Alfred or something
I
and
Mhm.
think
like
so.
against
Something
the
like that.
wall, and even Alfred's just like, oh, like even Alfred's like, okay, that is scary. Okay, you're gonna scare some people. That's fine. Yeah.
I'm having a bad trip.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm driving a school bus right now.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, so that was kind of like with Andrea gone, that was like Bruce deciding, okay, well, if I don't have love, then I'll commit to my mission, what I believe I'm supposed to do with my life. So we cut then to Andrea's side of the story, where she's being dropped off at home with a familiar looking chauffeur, giving a bit of a cat call to her as she's walking inside the house.
Hmm.
And she goes inside to tell her father the good news. And she hears the gangsters threatening her dad in his office and saying, like, you stole our money, you're a liar and a cheat. So this guy's been embezzling the mob, because that's going to go well, right?
Yeah.
Like, what? They're just dumb gangsters. What do they like? Keep an eye on their money or something? Like,
Yeah, I
What?
feel that I feel that rarely goes well.
yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, they say like, like you owe us our money right now, or else we're gonna like kill you.
Hmm.
And he says, like, please, like, I swear, as soon as the European banks open tomorrow, I'll have the money wired to you on my mother's grave. I swear it. And they're about to threaten Andrea too, because she's like, "What are you doing to my father?" And it's like, read the room, honey. I think you know what they're doing to your father, and I think you know what your father's doing with them.
Yeah. And she does go for like a hit on one of them, and
Hmm.
they catch her. Yeah. And put
Yeah,
like a knife to her throat, or are they just holding on to her?
I think they had her in like a headlock, but yeah, they might as well have had a knife to her throat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, so Carl's on his knees and begging for a chance to make things right. And Valestra says, all right, this time tomorrow, I'll have the money in my hand or your heart in my hand.
Yeah. Dark.
Like,
Yeah. Hmm. Uh
and
yeah, it's a heavy scene, and like they start as soon as the mob's like fine, they walk out, and the dad's just like, get your crap together, we're leaving, we're just leaving. And she's like, wait, what? I thought you said. He's like, it's gonna take months to get that money out of all of the investments. Just get your stuff together, we're going, we're just going. Yeah.
yeah,
And so that's how you see why like she also made a choice to like go with her father or to stay. And but I also think if she stayed, the only thing they do is hound her down anyways, and probably kill her, and you'd still have Batman. It's fine. Yes,
Okay, so I have one point I'd like to make here. This is all about money, right?
correct.
Why doesn't she ask Bruce for a loan?
She doesn't get time to.
She could have. Like,
I don't
just call up
know.
and say, someone is threatening my father's life. I need $5 million or whatever, like right now. And he's
Mm.
not gonna like question it. He's gonna be like, of course I'm gonna give you $5 million. Like I have that, like, hidden in my wallet for Pete's sake. Like,
Yeah, I mean, he is a billionaire. That is true. Yeah.
yeah,
But I don't know. I feel like she's based on the character that we were introduced to, she seems like the kind of woman who is very independent and does things on her own.
that's true.
And I think for her, like she even though she knows Bruce has the money, I don't think she'd ever ask him for money.
Right.
Like I don't think that's the kind of personality. But even like the dad doesn't bring it up. Like, oh, can you ask Bruce for money? Like he doesn't even bring
Yeah.
that up. He doesn't even, acknowledge as an idea because I'm like, no, they're a couple. They clearly like each other. Maybe he can say, but I also think the dad's not like a skeevy gangster, he's just like, I made some bad choices and
Mhm.
now I'm paying for it, but that doesn't mean my daughter has to pay for it, kind of thing.
That's true. Yeah.
hmm but I do agree that, yeah, he was right there. He could have gotten some money together for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If only I had a rich fiance that could help me right now.
Right? Or even that ring. Just go to the pawn shop or go to a jeweler and be like, can we sell this today? And he probably would have had enough money. Yeah,
Yeah, he'll get you a better ring too. Like
exactly.
that was a nice ring, as you mentioned. Like,
It was. It was like a 10-carat diamond. Like it was crazy.
yeah. So yeah, basically what's been going on ever since, as Andrea explains, is that they've been, like hiding all over Europe for, several years. And, like this is kind of where it's led to. So I think that Bruce thinks that Carl is the Phantasm. Is
Her father, yes.
yeah, her father is the Phantasm.
hmm
And she doesn't deny that.
hmm
And, like they're having a moment there where, yeah, this got steamy. Like, woo.
Yep.
And Alfred takes a peek inside. They're like, "Ooh."
Yeah, yeah. The second time where he just walks in, and he's like, "Oh, we not to fucking
Yeah. Him with
backtrack."
his
Yeah.
him with his trays of beverages that he's got to turn back around with. Oh my god.
I'll just drink the champagne myself.
So, exactly. Yeah.
That's why it just made me
Watching from the
tired.
couch.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, hey, I've been like, I'd been his butler for like his entire life. I wonder like how many times he's had to fucking do that like throughout his life.
I never asked you to watch, Alfred. You didn't have to.
Yes. But yeah, no, then they cut to like the next morning and you're like, oh, what? She doesn't have pants on. What is happening?
Yeah, she's wearing Bruce's shirt. Like
Yes.
it's all but graphic. Like,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Little kids are like, it's just the next day. And parents are like, oh my God.
yeah.
Shucks.
I'm starting to see why I didn't get this movie introduced to me until I was like 12. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
even
It's
that went
definitely
over
not.
my head. Like,
Yeah. You always had a certain point where you like get all these things and you're just like, oh my God, why did I watch this when I was 10? What is happening?
Who let me watch this?
That's like 90% of like 80s and 90s movies. I feel like I rewatch them now and I'm just like, this was for children?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a thick-headed kid. Dang. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I watched Labyrinth when I was like 10 years old. It was
Oh,
fine.
fuck.
And then as an adult, I'm
Was
just
it?
like, this is not appropriate. None of this is appropriate.
They have for many reasons.
dance magic dance.
Like, ooh. I'm like, you're an old magical prince man who wants to marry like a 15-year-old by kidnapping the baby well, it's her brother, technically, half brother, that she's babysitting, and you trap her in this like creepy world, and you're like, wait, is that allowed? Also, what's going on down there? What is this?
Yeah.
What is all
I think
of
we
this?
know what's going on down there. It's not subtle.
It's not subtle at all. It's so much wrongness. Thoroughly enjoyable. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, other than that David Bowie reference there,
Yeah, no,
um,
everyone's distracted.
yeah, I can't even remember where we were in the story. Oh,
they,
it's the Joker going to see Reeves.
yes.
Yeah, and
Yes.
this was like great scene of like that lightning strike and him like showing up,
Yeah,
out of the shadows.
because he's like in his office like at night for some reason, I think, or whatever.
He's a
Well,
bad
I
guy.
think he,
That's what they
yeah,
do.
oh yeah,
Yeah, and he's like going to like call his secretary to like get like security or the cops. And he's like, "Oh, isn't that great? Why don't you get it for a press conference? The councilman and his wacky old friend." He's like, "I don't have like any friendship with you." He's like, "Oh, come on, don't you remember in old times, me, you, Sally, and the gang?" And I think that's where Reeves realizes, "Oh, it's you." And
Yeah.
this is around the same time that Bruce is after Andrea's left. He's looking at a photo of the Carl Beaumont with Sal and the gangsters and the cat-calling chauffeur who is behind them. And he's like, I know that face. He grabs a pencil, like a colored pencil, draws like lips and green hair, and he realizes that's the Joker.
Or, yeah. He's part of this gang. What I found really interesting is that sorry, I'm gonna skip to the next scene
Mhm.
by explaining this, but you don't actually see what the Joker and what's his name Reeves talk about, uh but like he figures out, so Batman figures out that the chauffeur guy was like the Joker before he was the Joker. And then it cuts to the hospital and they're trying to calm down Reeves because he's been given the Joker toxin,
Mhm.
right? And he is
yeah.
his face is manic and he's hysterical and he's like flailing, and like there's like three orderlies and a nurse and a doctor trying to calm him down, so because they're trying to give him medication, but if he keeps going crazy, it makes the toxin do worse things. This is what I'm getting from the scene, but I'm like, I feel like it's so scary that like you don't actually see what the Joker does to get him to get the toxin, or like what they talked about or whatever. You just see the consequences of just having a conversation with the Joker, which is nuts.
Yeah, it's not going to end well, even if he's just, coming to say hi.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, there's definitely always an ulterior motive.
Yeah, because
And then
they're even telling him to calm down, and in between laughs and stuff, he's like, I can't, sort of thing, and then they pull him in the thing, and then they finally calm down, get him calmed down, if I could talk,
yeah.
and then they leave, and then friggin' Batman shows up, and that just like spikes his heart rate, and he just starts going like he just said here, I'm like, oh, he's like, oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when he gets the other half of the story that helps Batman figure out who the Phantasm is,
Mhm.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
Reeves is explaining like I helped Carl and Andrea get out of the country when they were, needing a quick escape, and that was the plan originally. And
and
then when
they kept in touch, and then they helped him uh put his money away, and then I forget what happened.
I think it was the first time Reeves was running for council, but he like ran out of money, and then he went to the gangsters, or like they were putting pressure on him, and they're like, "Oh, well, we'll give you money if you tell us where like Mr. Beaumont is." And he
Yeah,
like gave up Mr. Beaumont
yeah,
for the money to
Mhm.
run for city council or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, as Batman's kind of putting two and two together, we have a scene of Andrea in front of the World's Fair hideout that the Joker's at, and one final flashback of her going to her house in Europe to go see her father with groceries. And she's about to open the door when out walks the Joker before he's the Joker.
Yeah.
And she's
Pre-Joker? Can we call him pre-Joker?
pre-Joker, yeah. Jacques Napier,
Yeah.
or Jacques, if you're
Yeah.
more French.
Yeah.
And so she's like, but, he paid you the money. And he just like walks past and she runs inside. And again, it's the implication of what she's seeing because you just hear her blood-curdling scream
Yeah.
as you realize like the Joker killed him.
Yes.
Yeah,
And so you
yeah,
know it's going to be some brutal, horrible thing that he's done.
Yeah.
then he just said on top of it, he just like picks up an apple, like a part of the groceries that she's dropped, and just
Mhm.
like kind of walks away, like
Mhm.
eating the apple and stuff as she's screaming inside the house. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the thing is the thing that makes him so scary is that, like, yes, we now know that he later becomes the Joker, but also he's already so callous and nonchalant about killing and hurting and maiming people
Mhm.
that you're just like, oh, you were, even without the crazy face, you're screwed.
yeah,
Like there's something wrong with you, clearly.
yeah,
You were a
yeah, definitely.
sociopath before you fell on the acid,
That's
and that
it.
just made it worse.
That just means
Yeah,
we could see the sociopath side of you compared to
Yeah.
before. We could sort of hide it, but he never did a good job hiding it either, to be
No.
honest. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's where we have the Joker talking to his Hazel housewife, the robot, chopping
Hmm.
up some bologna. And
So
he's like,
weird.
well, you feel like the electricity is coming on or something like that. And that's when the smoke shows up in the background, and it's the Phantasm saying, Joker, your angel of death awaits. And that's where he says, I'm impressed, lady. You had me guessing for a little bit, but I finally figured out who you are. And that's when we find out that Andrea is the Phantasm.
yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, you finally figured it out, and then takes that
Mhm.
off, and it's her.
What did you
Mhm.
guys think of this twist?
I liked it. To be honest, until they showed that the father was dead, I did not see it coming. And I was like, well done, you guys. Usually I see that pretty early on, but I was like, nah, well
Mhm.
done. Well, because they kept the idea that her father was alive still throughout the whole movie until you saw that last part. And I was like, oh, it's probably the dad then. It's fine. Whatever. It's cool, you know? And they're like, what? But as soon as you're like, he's dead, I'm like, so then it has to be her, right?
Yeah.
Crazy.
And one thing I should add, if you guys didn't catch it, the voice actor of the Phantasm is the same voice actor who plays Carl Beaumont, Stacy Keach Jr.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
intentionally leading you down that red herring.
Hmm. Yeah, because you also hear his voice in the flashbacks, and it's like, no, it's the same voice, right?
Mhm.
Like it's there, so it has to be him. But no, you're like, oh, she has a really cool Darth Vader voice changer. It's fine.
Yeah. You'd think Batman would have that, but yeah, that's interesting when you put it like that. And think of that.
Hmm.
We didn't get that until Batfleck.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, but I also think that like we've seen it quite a few times in this Batman the animated series world that like the city seems to not take female bad guys seriously, you know? Because like
Until they
when
wreck your shit.
exactly like they like even Batman actually makes fun of Catwoman, and even in the Cat and the Claw, when you they get to the bad guys, they're like, Red Claw, a woman. You're like, so she can women can be bad people too, you know? And you know when they first met Poison Ivy, there was like this there was like a whole, I think the cops were like, why don't can you can tie me up and all that kind of nonsense. And you're just like, she murdered people. Why are you laughing about this just because she's a lady? Like I don't know what's going on. So I feel like it was like, yes, trying to make it seem like it's her father come back to life, A, but B, I think if she showed up and she looked like a woman killing them, she wouldn't have been quote unquote taken seriously. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I feel like that was also part of the reasoning for the getup that she had on and like the voice changing and stuff.
Hmm. Now, here's my question. How did she know that the guy who killed her father became the Joker?
I don't know. But maybe she recognized him.
Maybe.
Maybe some research. I mean, she clearly had been planning this for some time, right?
Hmm.
yeah,
Or maybe she followed the less because we don't really see her what she's we don't really see what she's doing in the city except for like the couple of times Batman sees her on like the date and she saves him.
That's
But
a
we
good point.
don't see what she's doing in the city. They don't show it. But maybe she followed Valestra and was just like, oh, maybe this is the guy I need to take down or something because he's talking to him like it's somebody he knew back in the day. Who
Hmm.
knows, right? So maybe that could be part of it. But yeah, like though that might you might have to put it together. But like they've shown in some other movies where even if it's like later on and you meet the bad guy, it's like, no, of course I recognize your face. You were there when this horrible thing happened to me and I looked you in the face, you looked me in the eye, and I memorized your whole face kind
Oh
of
yeah,
thing.
so it's like frozen in her memory.
Yeah, so he's just like
Okay.
even with the makeup on, I'm like, I know exactly who you are, kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I didn't honestly I didn't really question it until you brought it up, but I'm thinking
yeah,
about it, I'm like, no, I could see why she could have picked him, like figured it out. I feel like I could have. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to the person who killed your father, like that's not going to be a face you forget.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
And then too, and then with the Joker, like figure already kind of knowing who it is, kind of I think leads credence to the theory that he knows who Batman really is, but just doesn't
Hmm.
say anything because he just like because he's not talking to Bruce Wayne when he's Batman. He just like Bruce does. He like when he's Batman, he views him as Batman and not being Bruce sort of thing. So that's why he just kind of cares about him as Batman sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So so
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
So
yeah, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, it is, and that was good. I thought it was weird. Like after that, when like Batman showed up there, that he showed up in the on a bat cycle instead of in the Batmobile.
I don't think he's used the Batmobile this whole movie. Now that you say it,
I don't think he
Yeah,
did either.
yeah,
he's used the
Huh.
Batwing, but
yeah, yeah. The
yeah.
Batwing, yeah. Then but
And the
yeah,
Bat
then
Cycle, yeah.
yeah, because that kind of adds to like using that jet propeller to or the jet engine or whatever to try and get the Phantasm, but then he kind of gets sucked in with that. But I thought it was weird that
Well,
he initially showed up.
maybe he didn't use the Batmobile because he's trying to keep himself low key because the police is hunting him down and like the Batmobile is much bigger and much louder and easier to
Mhm.
find.
Yeah, but wouldn't the guy in the cape on a motorcycle be just as obvious though?
Yeah, but I mean, he probably has like an underground tunnel he can go in or something. I don't know. I'm making excuses.
He's rich. He's got ways.
He's got ways. You don't know. Yeah. Or
Well,
maybe
yeah, right.
like a block from there, he was just Bruce Wayne out for a joyride and he went through a dark corner and Superman, like changed in like a phone booth and came back out and like
I guess we
Batman.
know like rich people in their tunnels that they want to build. So I guess it's not far to think that he has his own little tunnel system under Gotham.
I wouldn't be surprised to be honest. Mm,
Yeah, I can see that.
yeah.
But
Because in Batman Forever he has that tunnel going from his office
that
to
was
like
so
the
stupid.
to the way to the Batcave or whatever. So,
Yeah.
Think of like the man hours and like the like breaking through like city like concrete and like underneath the roads and like through the sewers just to build that stupid thing.
Yeah. The
Like
amount of
Bruce,
like control that has to be put into that, or else like a street could collapse, or you could like cut a wire that shuts down the grid for a quarter of the city. Like it's crazy.
yeah. Every time I think of that scene, it makes less sense. That and chair. Your password is chair.
I
Freaking
guess it's
idiot.
a word people wouldn't think of as a password. I don't look, I am not defending that one. Never mind. I'm not even gonna try. It's
I
okay.
told you it makes less sense the more you think about it.
I know. Yeah.
So yeah, back to Andrea narrowly escaping the Joker's death trap with the turbine.
Mhm.
Batman says like like it was you the whole time, like you were the Phantasm and like you've been taking these gangsters' lives. And Andrea's like, they took everything from us, Bruce. Like, we could have been happy. We could have, gotten married. They took away you from me. They took my father. Like, they took away everything. And I love how he says, like, but Andy, what will vengeance solve? She's like, if anybody knows the answer to that question, Bruce, it's you.
She's right. Like it, him saying that is like the dumbest thing to say. Like I
Yeah.
don't like I
Pot,
don't
meat, kettle.
exactly, And I was also thinking too why he differentiates himself from her is because yes, he's out for vengeance, but he makes sure the bad guys, like, he makes sure justice is involved, That's why he doesn't kill them. He's like, I've caught you because you've done something wrong. You go to the police, you go to trial, you go to jail, you go through the end process, right?
Mhm.
Whereas she's just like, no, I have gone through the whole thing in my head, and I deem you death. You're like, this is the verdict, you're gonna die. And that's what he thinks is wrong. That's where he thinks crossing the line is. He's like, I don't take vengeance on people, I bring people to justice, is what his whole thing is. So I feel like that's why he doesn't understand how hypocritical his comment is. He's just like, no, we're doing different things. And she's like, nah, it's the same thing. Let's get this right.
Yeah. You're welcome, Bruce.
Yeah. I'm cleaning up the city for you. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, he tells Andrea, like, I'll deal with the Joker, you stay out of it, and like, that's gonna happen. Uh, so he deals with the Joker through, like, I love, like, their kind of like Godzilla set fight
Oh my god, I
where
loved it.
they're standing in front of, like, the fake skyscrapers. And they look like two kaijus duking it out.
Yeah, I was like, them in the miniature city looks a very Godzilla and King Kong fighting each other. I was like, this
Yeah.
works for me. I'm having. But did you notice that when they first walked in, the first building had like the WB symbol, like
I
it was like a
did notice
WB
that.
building?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but the one thing I did notice in this whole thing is that like there's that one statue that kind of looked like the prototype to like Mr. Freeze's frozen suit or whatever.
Oh, really?
Really?
At one point there's like there's a big statue that had a little dome thing on its head, so it kind of at least to me
Oh.
it made me think of that, but like it might not be an actual connection, but it made me think of it when I saw it.
Oh, I missed that one. Okay. Cool.
Same.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think it was just like in the pan of the camera sort of thing. I think at one point in the Futureland set or whatever, whenever we were there.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And because this is a movie and, not the show, they're able to, like, get like pretty bloody and bruised between the two of them. Cause, like, I think Joker gets a tooth knocked out. He's
Yeah,
Yeah,
got
and he's
blood.
like blood all over his face. Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
yeah,
And
because
Bruce
that's the
and Batman as well. Doesn't he have like
Yeah.
blood pouring out of like his face or head or something as well? Yeah.
because that was definitely one thing they never put in the show was blood.
Mhm.
hmm
The amount of blood loss that Bruce has gone through in like the last 48 hours must be like,
Oh, how is he functioning? I swear it's just like fistfuls of pain medication
yeah,
and just like bandaged and bruised. Like he's purple and blue underneath. Like it's fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's got like an entire like closet full of Oxycontin. Like,
Yeah. He's like, look, I need this just to stand up. Okay. Just let this happen. Like,
yeah,
okay.
Batman dope sick.
Yeah.
And then I think Joker like manages to like grab a jetpack, like a functional jetpack is just
Yeah.
hiding in this thing.
Yeah.
And Batman like grabs him and he's like looking like the Rocketeer like flying around and
Which
he's
is
like,
great.
if you don't
Yeah,
let me
'cause-
go, we'll both die. He's like,
yeah,
I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
because I think of they said there's like 20 miles of tunnels and it's all rigged to explode and he's already set it
Mhm.
off.
hmm
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
because
yeah.
because that was part of his plan to get the Phantasm was to like lure the Phantasm there, and then take off in the jetpack and like blow up the whole area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he makes reference to like the Phantasm jumping out the window in time
Mhm.
at Salvador's place or whatever. Yeah, and then he's like, so jumping out the window this time. There's 20
Exactly.
miles of tunnels and it's all rigged to explode.
Mhm.
Yeah. And they crash in front of like the globe of the World Fair, and that's when Andrea like steps in front of the Joker. He's like, "Oh, for once I'm caught without a punchline."
Yes.
I love that, like, as they're, like Batman saying, like, Andrea, like, this place is gonna blow up. Like, we need to leave now. She's like, no, one way or another, it ends tonight. Goodbye, my love. And as the entire place starts going up in flames, I will continue to say this is my favorite Mark Hamill Joker laugh.
Hmm.
It is amazing. I can't even
Hmm.
replicate it on the mic. It's that good.
Yeah. Yeah. He definitely Mark Hamill just found his inner psycho
Oh,
and
yeah.
let it out. Yes, he did.
Yeah, it was like the entire series, he was like bottling up that laugh for this
Hmm.
one moment. And he's like, okay,
Yeah.
let's unbox this package.
Yeah. I do find so I'm confused about what happens next, right?
Okay.
So you see the ground under where Batman, so the explosion happens, the ground cracks, he falls down into like a sewer or something and gets like, he's like underwater, practically suffocating. He's freaking out and he gets like spit out in like Gotham Bay or something. But as far as we know, Andrea and the Joker are still where this explosion is happening, right?
Yeah,
And everything like and when Batman comes out from under the water, he sees everything's just on fire. Like there's no reason to think anybody has survived that.
Hmm.
And like what happens to the Joker? They don't make from that point on, they don't make any reference to him. You don't see him like wash up or in the asylum or whatever. What happens to the Joker? Did she kill him? Like what is going on?
So I actually know the answer to that question because
Okay.
apparently Paul Dini wrote a comic for the DCAU called Shadow of the Phantasm, where we see what happened. So basically, Andrea took Joker down into the sewers and basically started beating the shit out of him because this
Oh.
guy killed her father.
Mm-hmm.
And just when she's about to kill him, she hesitates when she realizes that the Joker is so far gone into his insanity. She's like, there is like no longer the man that killed my father in here. This is just like a shell of a broken person.
Yeah.
And basically, they get separated in the explosion, and that's how she's able to survive as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, that's as close to an explanation as to what we get because when Batman returns to the Batcave thinking that, like Andrea's dead, and Alfred says, like, vengeance just blackens the soul, Bruce. By the way, it's one of the few times he calls him Bruce and not Master Bruce,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was really stoic. It's like a father, consoling his like distraught son.
I mean, he has taken care of him since he was a little boy, so
Hmm.
yeah,
it's like he's more than just like a guardian and a servant. He's yes, he does his job, but there's definitely a love and a care in there that goes beyond just an employee and an employer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that's when Batman sees something in the distance in the shadows of the cave. And was it the engagement ring or was it a
It
locket?
was it was her
it was
locket.
it was the
Okay.
locket. Yeah, that yeah,
Hmm. Yeah,
That's
because
that,
it
right.
that
had the picture of them when they were young and a couple in it, and she still had it with her because we see it early in the movie, like she
yeah
wears it all the time.
yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and they you see it in one of the flashbacks. Yeah, I
Hmm.
forget which one, but yeah, it's prominent in one of them. Yeah, so he's like all distraught, and he had to see it sparkle off, and then he runs up and grabs it. Yeah, so then that's when he realizes that at least she's still alive.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the Joker shows up in the trial in
Mhm.
season 2 at one point. Yeah, so he's
Hmm.
not dead in the series at least. So yeah, but I don't think they touch on this. He just kind
Yeah.
of shows up in that. Yeah.
All right. So now that's the end of the movie. I have a question.
Mhm.
Is she supernatural in some way? Like I don't like she has magical powers, right? Because it's not just like a smoke machine under her jacket. She fully disappears and reappears places. She become things fly through her body. Like, is she Zatanna? Like, is she a magician? Like, I don't like. Is she
I
actually
wouldn't
like,
rule that out.
like I was just very confused as to. I know I sometimes complain that movies and stuff over explain this kind of thing, but they give no explanation about it. And it's not like they go to like her lair and like there's like a pan around a room and there's like gadgets and stuff. I'm like, oh, it's just gadgets and things. Or, you see like I don't know, some like ritual shrine station or something, and that gives her about like there's just no explanation about it at all, and I just find it very strange
Yeah.
because it doesn't like the thing about the Batman world is all very everything's very practical, right? Like because you're like, oh, there's a guy who thinks he's Zeus, but really he's got like a cannon that shoots lightning bolts out of it. Like, fine. Uh, like there's always like some sort of like practical explanation about these things that people thought were fantastical. Whereas this, you're just like, there doesn't seem to be any practical anything going on there. Like it just seems she's magical or something in some way. And I
She's
was
pulling
so
off
confused.
things that Batman can't do.
Yeah. And but even like in the show, that Batman does these things like if he throws a smoke bomb, disappears. He throws a smoke bomb and then goes around a corner or like shoots a grappling hook and like takes off. Like we know the reason why he disappears. We
Mhm.
get it. But like with her, you're just like, wait, what? I don't okay. I'm very confused, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh no, you weren't the only one. Yeah, because like even when like she's dodging something that's thrown directly at her and like
Hmm.
disappearing for a split second only to reappear. It's like, well, how the hell did you do that? Like,
But did you no? Because isn't there like the part where like
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
guy's
It's
at the
like it.
graveyard
Yeah, then
and
she
he
throw something at her, and then she's like, and then disappears and like
no
reappears.
she
But it's
I don't think she disappears. I think she just sort of like
like,
goes slightly invisible. Like you still like see her and the thing goes through her and then she like solidifies again. Like she doesn't actually like disappear. She just
yeah.
gets transparent. And I was like, wait, is it an actual ghost? Like what is I'm just confused.
I mean, we know that eventually magic is confirmed to exist in the DCAU in this universe, so
Mhm.
I wouldn't strike it out of the realm of possibility. I mean, like, we've already seen Zatanna like in the run of this show.
That's true, yes. And she
Yeah.
does magic. And then of course you've got like Ra's al Ghul and stuff with like his Lazarus pits and all that kind of thing. And so there are ethereal things that happened. I get it, but I would like somebody to be like, hey, she's channeling the ghost of her father or something, and this is why this is happening. All right. That's all I need.
Yep, no, that's a fair
Yeah.
observation or lack of explanation. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But that's really my biggest complaint about the movie. Like I actually really enjoyed it. Um and I kind of wish I'd saw this earlier, you know what I mean? Because like it's a really interesting story. You get more of a background for Batman. You sort of also get like another layer of his personality within it. And I think it's like a solid story. Like it's really well done and really well presented. But yeah, just is the Joker dead and is she magic? That's it. I need those two things answered in this movie somehow.
yeah. So this actually isn't the last time that we see Andrea in the DCAU, by the way.
Oh, it's not?
Oh, that's
No.
right. That's right. Yeah, yeah. Did you ever watch Batman Beyond, Tracy?
I didn't watch the full show,
Oh, yeah.
sadly.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I
because it's that. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, I'm trying to think because I watched probably about half the series, not the whole thing. And I remember the show got like a lot of hate, but I'm like, nah, it's pretty solid Batman. And old man Batman's kind of interesting. But
Yeah.
I can't remember if any of the episodes had to do with her or not. But also I probably would have just been like, Oh, it's a one episode person or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happens is in the JLU episode epilogue, which is kind of like the kind of swan song for the DCAU and kind of like the Batman story. We have Terry McGinnis finding out that he's biologically Bruce Wayne's son, and it
Oh,
was all elaborate plan by Amanda Waller, and she basically wanted to find this random kid who was as close to like kind of Bruce's age and like as she basically tried to like workshop a Batman for like
okay.
like a contingency plan. And
Like
so
recreating the what made Batman because she hires Phantasm to kill Terry's father.
yeah, yeah, like she was gonna
Oh,
have
okay.
her like gut Terry's father in the street in front of him.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Okay.
and of course Andrea's like, I'm not doing that.
I
And
mean, I feel
Amanda's
like she
like,
made the right
shit.
choice.
Like,
Yeah.
But obviously, Amanda Waller had no idea what like Andrea's initial motivation is. She's like, I'm not just a murderer. Like, I'm not going out killing people. I killed these specific people for a specific reason.
yeah.
I'm not just a serial killer. Like, no.
I love how like she even managed to get her in the getup and like, like only like a few feet behind the like parents and Terry, like in the street, and it's only at the last second she like bails out. Like, how did you convince her to do this?
In the first place. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I do not have answers for you.
yeah.
I guess that's another task I have to put on my list is finish watching Batman Beyond. I
Yeah,
think so. I mean,
yeah, I think
it's not like you're twisting my arm here. It's fine.
do it, do it, do it. So, what'd you give this episode out of five Batman villains, Braden?
I'm giving it 5 out of 5. This
Yeah,
is a fantastic motion picture. I'm glad that it was a theatrical release. The music, the animation, the story, the vocal performances, it's firing on all cylinders. And yeah, no, it's a movie that just gets better every time you watch it.
yeah, I think I think I'll give it a 5 out of 5 as well. Yeah, I really enjoy it, and it didn't, as I said at the beginning, it didn't run into like the two-parter issues that we've had before, where like there wasn't enough story for like the entire thing. But I felt it didn't drag at all. It was a solid like 76 minutes,
Mm,
and yeah, I definitely give it out of 5 out of 5. Yeah.
yeah.
All right, folks. Thanks for joining us all. Oh, sorry, sorry, Tracy. What did you give this out of 5? Did you give it the actual
Yeah,
number?
yeah. I'm gonna give it a 4.5.
4.5.
Only because it has two major questions that need to be answered within the
Yeah.
movie that weren't answered. But like Braden said, like everything is good and it's enjoyable and it's well done. Just those last two things, I'm like, this is just confusing. I need to know. Answers are required. But yeah, 4.5, 4.5. And especially since it was a first watching and this movie came out what 32 years ago? Is that right?
Oh,
Dang.
Jesus. I was
thanks, Tracy.
surprised how well it held up. I'm sorry, that makes me feel old too. Shush.
You're mad at her for math?
Yes.
No, for reminding me that I am indeed old.
Yes.
Because as I said, I didn't see this movie in the theater, but I remember like getting my parents to rent this for my birthday like the following year. So yeah, so I saw this like on my birthday, like when I was like turning like 14.
Mm.
So yes.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Thanks for joining us this week to talk about Batman, the animated series. Next week's episode will be the start of season 2 with Sideshow, which I think is a Killer Croc episode, if memory serves. Yes, and you can follow us at Twitter/X at Beyond Backcast, on Instagram at Beyond the Backcast. We are on YouTube now at youtube.com/Beyond the Backcast. Check us out there. Give us a review, subscribe, or wherever you find your podcast, where you listen to us here. And where can we find you on the internet, Tracy?
Well, you can find the podcast pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts. But you can also find me on Instagram, X. Oh, I refuse to. Sorry, no, Instagram, Twitter, and Blue Sky. I don't care. It's all Oh My Shelf, and you can even send me like an email at ohmyshelf@gmail.com. So, boo, there you go.
Yes, yes, and I'm on like I think 8 or 9 episodes over the last couple of years, and I got one coming up at some point this year too.
Some
So,
point, yes.
yeah, so if you like listen to us talk about movies, check us out there. And where can we find you on the internet, Brayton?
You can find me on my Spotify podcast. That's Fandom and Folklore, where I talk about fantasy movies and TV shows and the fandoms that follow them. And I'm going to have Tracy on as well,
Mm.
where we're going to talk about Willow.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Mad Mardigan.
Love Matt Mardigan. Yes.
And you can follow me on Instagram at my personal account at @StoneChuckman. And as I said, thanks for joining us in the Batcave to talk about Batman, the animated series at Beyond the Batcast. Goodbye, good chums. Kapow.